Today, we're going to completely shatter this illusion of what it actually means to be a responsible credit card user. We are taking a really hard look at the true cost of plastic and how to survive the credit card trap. Because look, so many of us have been taught that, as long as we're making our monthly payments on time, we're doing just fine, right? Well, actually, no. The truth is, the entire system is fundamentally designed to make you feel super comfortable while it quietly drains away your future wealth. So we're going to break down the math, the psychology, and the hidden systems behind that little piece of plastic in your wallet. And by the end of this explainer, you'll know exactly how this industry operates. And way more importantly, you're going to have a concrete action plan so you never fall into its trap again. To really show you what I mean, let's start with a very real, everyday scenario. Picture this. You just bought a gorgeous, brand new $1,000 couch, and you put it on your credit card. You get your bill a few weeks later, you see the minimum payment, and you think, great, I'll just pay that. Easy. Well, guess how long it takes to pay off that single piece of furniture if you only make that minimum payment? The answer? 18 years. Yep, not 1 year, not 3 years, 18 years. Honestly, by the time you finally pay that thing off, the couch will probably be sitting in a landfill somewhere. Plus, you'll have paid almost $2,000 in interest alone. That right there is the staggering hidden reality of the minimum payment. So before we go any further, let's do a quick quiz to test your instincts. Let's scale the math up just a bit. Let's say your credit card has a $5,000 balance at a 24% annual percentage rate, or APR. If you only pay the minimum each month, how many years do you think it's going to take to pay it off? Is it A, 3 years, B, 7 years, or C, over 20 years? Just lock in your answer in your head right now. I'm going to reveal the true answer at the very end of this explainer, and trust me, it is going to totally change how you look at your statements from here on out.
Now, you might be wondering how smart people even end up in these situations. Well, let's look at Jake. Meet Jake. He's 24 years old, he just got his first real job, and along with it, his very first credit card. Now, Jake isn't reckless at all. He's never missed a payment, he pays something every single month, and honestly, he felt pretty proud of his financial responsibility. But jump ahead 2 years, and Jake suddenly finds himself with $4,800 in credit card debt. And the crazy part, he can't even remember what he bought. It was just, coffees, Uber rides, maybe a little weekend trip he felt he deserved, nothing crazy. The crucial point we need to understand here is that Jake didn't actually have a spending problem. He had a math problem. He just didn't realize it yet.
To figure out how this trap even works, we got to look at how it was built. Because the whole concept of a credit card isn't actually that old. It started back in 1950 when the Diners Club card launched. And back then, its original purpose was just pure convenience, literally just letting businessmen skip carrying massive wads of cash at restaurants. But then a major shift happened. By the 1970s, researchers at MIT discovered something incredible. They found that people will spend significantly more money when they use credit instead of cash, like sometimes up to 83% more. That single behavioral discovery was a total game changer. It transformed credit cards from a simple restaurant convenience into one of the most wildly profitable financial products in American history. And fast forward to 2025, total U.S. credit card debt has crossed a staggering $1.3 trillion.
It really all boils down to psychology. Credit card debt is rarely a failure of logic, guys. It's a failure of psychology. Studies from Dun & Bradstreet actually confirm that people spend 12 to 18% more when using credit versus cash. And why is that? Because handing over physical hard cash is painful. It's an immediate tangible loss. But swiping a piece of plastic, it is completely frictionless. Tap, swipe, done. The pain of parting with your money is delayed, sometimes for literally years. And human nature makes it very, very easy to ignore delayed pain, right up until the bill becomes totally unmanageable.
And look, the banks, they understand this psychology perfectly, which brings us to how they actually make their money. Let's deconstruct the business model for a second. Here's the stuff they definitely do not print on your shiny welcome letter. The average credit card APR in the US right now is hovering around a whopping 24%. That is massive. Banks generate revenue in 3 main ways. First, interest. This is what you pay if you don't clear your balance in full every month. Second, fees. Think late fees, annual fees, and foreign transaction fees. And third, merchant fees. Every single time you swipe, the store pays the bank 2 to 3%. And honestly, that cost just gets baked right into the prices of goods for everyone, even if you're paying in cash.
But out of all those revenue streams, their absolute most dangerous weapon is the minimum payment. Card companies are usually only required to set your minimum payment at around 1 to 3% of your total balance. 1 to 3%. I mean, it sounds incredibly small, right? It sounds completely harmless. And that is exactly the point. It is mathematically engineered to feel totally painless to your monthly budget. while just under the surface, that 24% interest is quietly and aggressively snowballing into a massive problem.
Let's actually look at this math in action. We'll go back to our $1,000 couch example at that 24% APR. If you just pay the 2% minimum, your first month's payment is only $20. Super easy, right? But most of that $20 goes straight to interest. It barely even touches the actual debt. As we talked about earlier, it takes 18 years to pay off, and your total interest ends up being nearly double the price of the couch itself. But look at the second column. If you just commit to paying a flat $100 a month instead of that minimum, you pay that exact same couch off in just 11 months. Your total interest drops to about $110. We're talking about a $1,900 difference on the exact same item on the exact same card, purely based on how you choose to structure your payments.
And the real bummer here is that Jake's story from earlier, it's playing out in millions of homes right now. When we scale this up to the national level, the numbers are just eye-watering. Right now, the average American household that carries a balance owes around $10,000 in credit card debt. At that 24% average interest rate, that household is paying over $2,000 every single year just in interest. Think about that. That's $2,000 that isn't going into a savings account, it's not being invested in a retirement fund, it's not paying for a fun family vacation. It is going straight into the bank's pocket, entirely for nothing in return.
And to make things even trickier, the financial industry is constantly evolving this trap. Have you noticed the explosion of buy now, pay later apps like Klarna and Afterpay lately? While these might market themselves as this cool, modern convenience, make no mistake. These are essentially credit cards in a sneakier disguise. They heavily target younger spenders who proudly think, hey, I'm avoiding traditional credit card debt. But these apps operate on the exact same psychological principle of frictionless delayed pain. And with interest rates staying historically high since 2023, carrying any kind of balance right now, whether on a card or an app, is more punishing than it has been in decades.
Okay, enough doom and gloom. We understand the trap. So let's pivot and talk about how to actually beat it. Here is your step-by-step action plan to implement starting today. Step 1. Always pay your statement balance in full, never just the minimum. Step 2. If you're already carrying debt across multiple cards, use what's called the avalanche method. This means you focus all your extra cash on paying off the card with the highest interest rate first, while just maintaining the minimum payments on the rest. Step 3. Go into your app and set an alert for 30% utilization. If your balance goes above 30% of your total credit limit, it actually dings your credit score. And Step 4. If you are totally drowning in high interest charges right now, look into a 0% balance transfer card. This lets you move your debt to a new card with a 0% introductory rate, which buys you some absolutely crucial breathing room to attack the principal balance without interest piling up.
Now, to make sure you don't fall back into this cycle, I want you to lock in this super simple 3-question pre-purchase checklist. Before you ever tap or swipe your card again, you got to ask yourself these 3 things. First, can I pay this off in full this month? Second, am I buying this because I truly need it or just because swiping the plastic doesn't feel like I'm spending real money? And third, do I know the specific card's exact APR right now? If you cannot confidently say yes and answer all 3 of these questions, you need to put the card down and just walk away.
And while we're shifting our mindsets, we literally need to kill this one myth right now. I'm sure you've heard someone say, oh, carrying a balance helps your credit score. Guys, that is absolutely false. In fact, it is hands down the most expensive myth in all of personal finance. Your credit score improves from a steady history of on-time payments and keeping your credit utilization low. It absolutely does not improve from paying banks interest. You can have a perfect top-tier credit score and literally never pay a single cent of interest in your entire life.
All right, let's wrap this whole thing up. Remember that quiz from the beginning? Paying the minimum on a $5,000 balance at 24% APR? Well, the answer is C, over 20 years. If you guessed that correctly, you are already way ahead of the curve. Look, credit cards themselves aren't evil. They are just tools. But tools can cause some severe damage if you don't really understand how they work. Jake figured it out eventually, but it took him 3 super frustrating years to dig out of his debt. You don't have to learn this the hard way. So I'm leaving you with a challenge today. As soon as this explainer ends, open up your banking app, locate your exact APR, and face the number. Are you paying 20% or more without even realizing it? Take control of the math today because your financial future completely depends on it.